Jonnathan Chou. Jonnathan is the co-founder and CEO of BNest, and he has built an actual application that actually does something useful with the blockchain, right? Coming up. It's a home sharing network, and he's going to talk to you now about that and many other projects he's been working on. That's your microphone. This one changes your slides. So welcome, Jonnathan.
Great, thanks.
Big round of applause for Jonnathan, guys. He's nervous.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm John Chou, co-founder and CEO of vToken. So it's an honor to be here today, and with such an amazing audience turnout. Good to see that everyone is still focused on learning more about the space. I think a lot of people know it's currently a bear market, and the only way for us to get past that is to keep innovating and keep sharing knowledge. So today I'll talk about a trend which I feel like will be one of the larger trends in cryptocurrency moving forward, called real-world mining. So let's get started. So I'll start with this statement, that incentives are everything. And incentives can be non-monetary. It could be, for example, making the world a better place or love of technology. But for the most part, incentives are monetary because money is easy to quantify as well as is global by nature. So 2 days ago, I was at a conference called SVBI just next door, and an AI expert, Li Kai-Fu, was talking about the numerous differences between US companies and Chinese companies. And one of the differences I found really interesting was that US companies are more vision-oriented, whereas Chinese companies are more execution-focused. But one of the difference, despite all the differences, the two countries would agree on the same thing, that money is important and the value of it is, is important. So let's go into a more practical example of how monetary incentives can drive this force. So let's say I have a survey that takes about 5 minutes to complete, and this survey is just to collect user information about your experience or about making the product better or just your general thoughts. So vToken has a booth outside, and so how many of you, given that we're all good intentioned citizens, raise your hand if you'd be willing to take this 5-minute survey for absolutely nothing. Okay, so a few people. And then, and expectedly so. And so yesterday I was at Chandler Gould's, who is an early Bitcoin adopter's house party. And one of the things that Chandler loves to say is that just buy one Bitcoin, because one Bitcoin will be worth $1 million one day. So let's redo this, and let's say that we have the same survey. How many of you would be willing to take this survey for one Bitcoin? Raise your hand. Okay, a lot more people. And the main premise of this is that not everyone is willing to do things for money, but a large majority of people would be willing to do something for money that they otherwise wouldn't be willing to do, and that's the whole premise behind blockchain. So let's take a step back and talk about the 3 major components that need to be incentivized properly for blockchains to work. And the first are participants. So these participants are the owners and transactors of Ethereum and Bitcoin. This is everyone in the room here, as well as all the future users of decentralized applications. Second are the validators. So people commonly say that the whole point of decentralization is that banks, governments, Google and Facebook don't decide what is right and what is wrong. And so in order for that to happen, these validators, are often referred to as miners, have to keep a distributed ledger proper and tamper-proof. And finally, our purposes. And purposes, again, can be a variety of reasons. It could be to reduce censorship of governments. It could be to solve the scalability problem that plagues blockchain, or for a specific use case, such as IoT or content or sharing economy. And one purpose or trait that almost every blockchain claims to have is this. They claim to have decentralization. I say most because some, such as Ripple, simply don't care. And so one proposal that I have for decentralization means that anyone can participate in a cryptocurrency ecosystem and earn cryptocurrency. And this was true at the beginning of cryptocurrency. So in the beginning of cryptocurrency, a little bit of history. So exactly 10 years ago, October 2008, the Bitcoin white paper, which was published and called Bitcoin Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash, was published. So let's all give a very quick round of applause for Bitcoin, because without Bitcoin, we wouldn't be here today. So happy 10-year Bitcoin birthday. And in 2009, if you were mining Bitcoin, you could earn about 50 Bitcoins per block reward. So an average computer could earn up to 2,000 Bitcoins a day. You can imagine that's no longer the case. So I'll give everyone a really quick second to guess how much Bitcoin you would earn a day now with a personal laptop, but it's about this much. It's about 1 times 10 to the negative 8 Bitcoins. And that's a lot less of a reward than electricity costs in most places of the world. And why is that? Why is it that 10 years ago you could earn so many Bitcoin even though the value was smaller, and now it's so difficult to earn Bitcoin? And that's because with opportunity comes centralization. And that's true of all industries because scale reduces the cost of everything, which makes it profitable. So here are some major players in the centralization industry. Bitmain, which recently made its IPO documents public for the Hong Kong Exchange, reported almost $1 billion of profit in just the first half of 2018. And Binance and Coinbase are also benefiting quite a lot from this centralization. So Binance is on track to earn almost $1 billion, maybe a little less because of the bear market in profits for 2018. And Coinbase, while it doesn't disclose its profit margins, reported over $1 billion of revenue in 2017. I will say that Binance is a little bit more commendable because they do take 20% of their profits and buy back the BNB token on a quarterly basis, but the other 80% is still centralized. And one of the things that DHVC likes to say, for example, Dr. Zhang and Dr. Gu, is that the blockchain will be 10 times bigger than the internet. So you can imagine if we don't do anything about this, then these companies will be 10 times bigger than the traditional internet giants that we see today. So how can we go to a future where we can mine and earn cryptocurrencies without centralization, without really expensive GPUs for proof of work, or hosting a server node to do proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, or Byzantine fault-tolerant systems? So I'll go through history briefly, and I'm going to skip the initial proof of work and proof of stake models because I think most people here are familiar with them. So let's start in the 2015-16 era, when NEM and Steemit became pretty popular. So NEM's whole theory was that miners will always act within their best interests. So in order for us to avoid having all these people just mine and make a ledger for themselves, they encouraged the actual use of transactions. So the more transactions and wallets that people would use, they would earn cryptocurrencies for. The problem with this was there was a lot of wash trading and fake transactions, and NEM is working to fix this in a version 2. And Steemit is probably the largest cryptocurrency application up to date in terms of users, and they're only about 2 years old. And they're basically a hybrid between Medium and Reddit, so you get rewarded for creating content and upvoting other people. And then moving on to 2017, users were rewarded not with money, but more with control and governance. People were a lot more focused towards this. And this is where you saw the Bitcoin and Ethereum hard forks. This is where you saw that people who did not agree with the main ethos of the main chains go and take the technology and continue it somewhere else. And this is also where you saw the rise of projects today, which are pretty major, such as Omise Go, 0x, and Tezos, in which their token, the only utility of it is to have governance. And here's a really quick quote by Vitalik talking about EOS and the block producers about how they would always collude and work for their own self-interest or work with others to get the interest that they desire. And so now moving forward into 2018, these things were just a few months ago, so I'll go over them quickly. But Fcoin, essentially, it's transaction fee mining. It's being able to earn for making trades on exchange. And I find this is actually really powerful if you combine the transaction fee mining model with a decentralized exchange and make the token economics more sustainable. So because it's a lot easier for people to make transactions on an exchange than to own a GPU. So since then, lots of other competitors have come out and excited to see what happens in this part of the space. And the second part is the FOMO 3D model, and this is what I consider the epitome of game mining. So games are largely just based on gambling right now, but also based on really cute collectibles such as CryptoKitties and other NFTs. So what will the industry look like going forward for the rest of 2018 as well as 19 and so on and so forth? And here's where I'll take a stab at defining what real-world mining is. I believe that real-world mining is being able to utilize any idle or underutilized asset class to mine or earn cryptocurrencies. Because in order for the ecosystem to grow, you have to be able to get everyone to participate in this. And to get everyone to participate, you need to use asset classes that people have as opposed to just really esoteric mining rigs for them to use their homes or cars or time or data. Another point I want to make is that most of the big industries start with a very niche market. So I hear a lot of companies, they come and they say, oh, I'm going to disrupt Google on the blockchain and completely take over. But that's not how industries are built. Industries are built with something very small and it grows to become much larger. So to give a really quick example, Facebook started as just social media for Harvard, and then for Ivy Leagues, and then for colleges, and eventually connects the entire world. And same with Amazon, started with just selling books. And even Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two larger players in the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin started as just fueling transactions for the Silk Road, just being able to buy drugs and hitmen and other dark web activities. And Ethereum, despite all of its technological prowess, is mostly used for ICOs and fundraising for projects. So going back to real-world mining, imagine a world where you can use your home or your car as a mining rig to earn cryptocurrencies. Cars, by default, are idle about 96% of the time. You only use your car about 4% of the time that you own it. And homes are often idle as well. So I'll spend just one slide talking about B-Token, where we're a decentralized home sharing network. But essentially, the concept is that you're able to take your home, put it on our platform, and then once the smart contract verifies it, as a host, you can earn $50 worth of USD B-Tokens every single week guaranteed. And to talk about a niche use case, we start specifically at cryptocurrency conferences, where most people here have an above average understanding of cryptocurrency, as well as need a place to stay. And one of the main, I'll now talk about one of the main blockers that's really stopping real world currencies from becoming popular. And it's this concept of real world consensus. Like I mentioned before, all blockchains must have a component for validation. And right now, it's really hard to link the physical world to the blockchain world. Most oracles or sources of truth are centralized. And until we can make this more decentralized, this will become a blocker. So currently, there are attempts such as like sending a postcard for verification or random selection, or even manually going and checking that this asset is real. But for us to scale properly, we need to be able to solve this problem. And so I spent most of the presentation talking about monetary incentives and how that drives Bitcoin forward and the blockchain forward. And now I'll spend the last 2 to 3 slides talking about non-monetary components. Because even though money is the easiest to quantify, the non-monetary component is very important as well. And the main example I like to give is this. It's a smartphone. So all of us own a smartphone, most likely in this room. And a smartphone costs about $1,000. But we'll do a poll here as well. How many people feel like their phone is worth more to them than the amount of money that they paid for it? Raise your hand. OK, that's less than I thought. But I consider the phone basically the original FOMO generator, because now with your phone, you're constantly plugged into the internet, which is what this emotion shows here. You're constantly checking your messenger or constantly checking for updates on social media, and that makes your phone very valuable. So how can you take that and turn that into incentives for the normal world? And that's essentially just making people's lives better. So it could be as simple as writing a handwritten note or giving like a really cute plushie or honorable mention to the people that benefit from your token. Or it could be monetary by designing robust and monetary and loyalty programs to make it worth their time. And so that's all. I'm looking forward to more creative token designs and being able to free up different types of real-world assets going forward so that we can make this industry a lot more inclusive, make it a trillion-dollar industry, and also be able to actually surpass user bases in the billions by getting everyone a chance to participate. And so thank you. And if you want to learn more about B-Token, here's our information, as well as our platform at bnest.com. And if you want access to these slides, I put them up at btoken.com/GDIS. Thanks again.
So just a minute. I want to do that vote again. It doesn't make any sense. Hands up if your phone is worth more to you than the money you paid for it. Because if you don't put your hand up, why did you buy the phone? You should have bought a cheaper phone. It doesn't make any sense. OK, thank you. That was great.